Welcome to another GCSE Economics video with me, Mr. Goff from mrgoff.com. Today's video will be about evaluating the costs of specialisation for producers. In some cases, firms that specialise may suffer from higher costs. This will happen if the resources they require are in particular shortage. Their increased demand for them would lead to a right shift in demand and an increased cost for those particular resources if supply can't increase to match the increased demand. Let's consider the case of a small producer who makes bespoke artisan jams. They start by selling them in a market. They win some awards for their strawberry jam and decide to specialise and step up their production by building a factory to produce their award-winning strawberry jam. In doing so, they require a lot more strawberries. If there aren't enough strawberries to get hold of in the local area, this may drive up the price of strawberries, meaning that they have a cost problem on their hands. The thing to be careful of when you make this argument is to make sure that it applies in the context that you've been given for the question you're talking about. It's not always the case that things would be in short supply. If it's the case that the resources that are needed would be in plentiful supply and easily available, then this is not going to be a valid point. In my earlier video on the benefits of specialisation for producers, we noted that specialisation often means a big investment and the firm growing at the same time. Not only can this lead to economies of scale, but it could also lead to diseconomies of scale. Let's look at an example. A small firm with only a few workers can easily be managed by the owner. However, as the firm starts to grow in size and takes on more workers, there can be a loss of control. The workers may not work as hard if they are not supervised as well, and this might require the organisation to bring in another layer of management. This presents extra costs to the firm and may mean having to increase the price of their product. In the video on the benefits of specialisation to producers, we talked about how production lines such as this one can have benefits to the producers, such as being able to use bespoke machinery and having the workers repeat the same task over and over again, making the process very efficient. However, production lines can also come with their own problems. The main problem is dependency. Each part of the factory is dependent on receiving inputs from the previous part of the factory. So if the machines in one section go down, instead of just one section not being able to produce, the entire factory would grind to a halt. The next problem, failure of exchange, is a real big problem for firms that specialise. If specialist firms can't get all the components or resources that they need to produce their product, then production may grind to a halt. A prime example of this can be seen in the recent Chipageddon crisis, where firms as varied as phone manufacturers and car manufacturers have all come to a halt because of a shortage of computer chips that need to go into their products. Another problem occurs when suppliers greatly increase the price or restrict production of a resource that firms need. This can often happen in markets where there is a near monopoly or a monopoly situation, such as the market for industrial diamonds. This can leave the firms that need to use them in their production with extremely fluctuating costs that can be very hard to predict and budget for. Another cost firms could face if they choose to specialise is the movement of workers. This is because while doing the same task over and over again may be efficient, it's also very boring. This could mean workers leaving to seek more fulfilling work. This is a problem for the firm because training new workers and hiring new workers is a costly thing. The movement of workers would be most pronounced when a firm first moves to specialist working. However, you should not underestimate the fact that jobs where the work is boring and repetitive will also have a regularly high turnover compared to other jobs where the work is more satisfying. One of the specification points is that students should be able to evaluate the costs and benefits of specialisation to producers, so you should expect to be dealing with both of these in the same question. To start a question like this, you will need to build a chain of reasoning that starts with the way specialisation could benefit a producer and ends at how it might benefit them. This will most likely be more profit or an increased market share. Next, build a chain of reasoning explaining how specialisation could cause a cost for the producer and how it costs them. So how it leads to decreased profit or, say, going out of business in an extreme case. Finally, you need to make a reasoned judgment weighing up the two sides of the argument. This might include how likely each is to happen. Throughout your answer, remember, context matters. You'll have been given a scenario in which you are evaluating the costs and benefits to a specific producer. Make sure that the answers you give are suitable for this particular producer. Remember to use the correct terminology for their business. Don't just say goods or customers if they have specific names. Okay, that's the end of another video from me, Mr. Goff, here at mrgoff.com. Be sure and join us again next time when we'll be evaluating the costs and benefits for workers of specialisation. Until then, have a good time. See you later.